Thank you so much for coming to our teacher expert panel on hip hop. We are so excited to be able to bring you this discussion with three incredible educators and thinkers in the world of hip hop education. Just before we get started, I just wanted to let you know quickly about a couple things. First is our songwriting exhibition. So find my Zoom control here. So first is our songwriting exhibition, which you can see now. So the exhibition is a great opportunity for teachers and parents to submit students' original compositions. We're hoping to amplify the voices of young songwriters. This exhibition is open to anyone to enter from now through April 23rd. And all submissions will be featured in our live streamed listening party on May 12th, which is happening on our YouTube channel. Students can enter to win some amazing prizes as well, like gift cards that can be spent on instruments and more. You can head to our website to check that out if you have students who are writing original songs. And secondly, I wanted to tell you about some of our upcoming professional development sessions. We have tons of these right now, more than ever, and these are always free for teachers to attend. These are just a few of them you can see here, like virtual music performance, digital songwriting and production, which will get you Little Kids Rock certification. And like I said, these are always free to teachers thanks to our district and philanthropic partners. And they'll also earn you professional development hours. You can head to the URL that you see down there, or you can scan the QR code that's on the slide to find out more information or to sign up for any of those. Getting down to our panel, I want to introduce Tony Sauza, who is our moderator for the day. Hey, Tony. Well, it looks like you're muted. Classic Zoom.
Love
start.
it. Love it. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Bray. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm very happy to be here with you, and we're going to get things rolling in just a second. All right. Oh, and Bray, just a quick, it looks like we do have Mark here. Cool. All right, very nice. So once again, very happy to be here. Thank you all for spending your time with us today. We're going to cover a fair amount of things in a short amount of time. So just kind of be ready to be engaged with everything that's being brought up. And as Brady mentioned, we're going to have some time for questions at the end. Okay. So want to introduce our panel here. And our panelists. So first, I'm going to introduce Rahman Jamal, who's coming to us from Rap Force Academy and Hip Hop Congress Incorporated. And Rahman Jamal is a writer, actor, musician, MC, filmmaker, and educator with 3 degrees in cinema, television, communications in the entertainment industry, and music industry from the University of Southern California. Rahman wrote the first visual and performing arts and Common Core curriculum for hip-hop emceeing and rapping in California, and it is now branded as Rap Force Academy, which began implementation in schools, nonprofits, and the juvenile court system in 2004. Okay, so I want to give a warm welcome to Rahman being here with us. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Definitely.
Thank you for everyone tuning in.
Cool. Our next panelist is Tyler Campbell, who's the instructor and director of computer science and music production pathways at Lindsay High School in Lindsay, California. Tyler Campbell is a multi-instrumentalist born and raised in the Central Valley of California. He started working as a technology consultant for Lindsay Unified, where he became an expert in digital music composition and recording tools. He started an underground after-school program to show students how to use these tools to create their own hip-hop music and decided to turn it into a course. It's called High School Pathways for both music production and computer science and game design. Together with his high school learners, he recently founded a record label to get their music published and now has inspired a small army of high schoolers to become music production and game design teachers. Let's say hello to Mr. Tyler Campbell.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me.
All right, cool. And finally here we have none other than Martha Diaz from the Hip Hop Education Center, and also Hip Hop CU, and a whole bunch of other exciting programs and entities that we'll be discussing in a few minutes. So Colombian American futurist Martha Diaz is a seasoned community organizer, media producer, archivist, curator, educator, and social entrepreneur. In 2010, Martha launched the Hip Hop Education Center for Research, Evaluation, and Training at New York University, now part of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and has since worked on archival projects with Parkwood Entertainment, Tupac Shakur Estate, and Video Music Box, to name a few. So, hello, Martha. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you here. Cool. And I think you're muted right now, just so you know, for when we go with the questions. But thank you very much, the three of you. So we're going to jump right into the questions right here. So I'm going to start with Rahman here. If could you talk to us first about your work around Rap Force Academy, Hip Hop Congress, and any other projects that you have in the works right now?
Sure. So I'm going to go back to when I was a student in college between the years of 2000 and 2004. This is when I'm going to start with Hip Hop Congress, because it was the precursor to Rap Force Academy. But essentially, I received a full scholarship to study film at USC coming out of high school. And while I was there my freshman year, I joined a student organization that was just starting out in its first year as a student organization called Hip Hop Congress. It's a small little table in the middle of campus, and I was actually looking for a hip hop club, and they were exactly that. But it was the first chapter of Hip Hop Congress. The founders that I met graduated that year and basically handed it over and said, "Hey, you're the most consistent person showing up to all our meetings. You're taking over the chapter." And one of them went on to graduate school in the Midwest, started a second Hip Hop Congress chapter, and from there, and the other became an entertainment lawyer. So they, from the years that followed, Hip Hop Congress being right at the cusp of social media, starting to be used and everything, basically exploded virally between the years of 2001 and 2010. It started off as an artist network in 1993, and then merged into a student organization and artist network around 2000. But basically, we were a merger of artists coming to campus to share culture and awareness, also being a bridge between campus and local communities. So we would throw events on campus, booking local artists to come out. We'd reach out to community organizations, have them tables, so people would come for the entertainment and then also learn about some of the activism going on in the community. And then we also, as the chapter started to emerge, we would host a different national conference in a different city, headed up by the chapter in that city. And we did 9 of those between 2002 and 2010. And we covered everywhere from San Jose, Los Angeles, Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, Seattle, Biloxi, Boulder, Colorado, Athens, Ohio. It was just an amazing family network that was being built, every year. And in the third year that we had was in St. Louis. Our initiative was hip hop and education. So we basically made that the topic of discussion. And our keynote speaker was none other than Martha Diaz. And so in this, at this conference, me personally, I had just started my first movie called The Beat. It went to Sundance in 2003, and I was deciding where my career path was going to go. I could either go into entertainment, or kind of go into activism, or I was kind of just, really kind of figuring out where I should go. But my involvement with Hip Hop Congress, and especially this conversation around hip hop education, gave me the foundation to really trailblaze and take the road less traveled, I guess you'll say. I invested into, looking at what was need, where could hip hop be better utilized, where was the most need, and it wasn't in entertainment. There's plenty of hip hop artists, people wanting to become hip hop artists, but there weren't very many hip hop artists that were investing their talent and skills into improving our education system. So that was the direction that I took. That same year, me and the one of the co-founders of Hip Hop Congress, Shamako Noble, teamed together to create a curriculum around rap and emceeing. We taught it at a new charter school in my hometown of Redwood City through an organization called the Rikers Center. And that was our first time testing out homemade grassroots hip hop curriculum, on actual students, on actual high school students. The class was so popular that it just started being requested every year. We ended up expanding to the other campuses that the charter school was opening up, and so we went from Redwood City to San Jose, and that was sort of the beginning and the foundation of what is now Rap Force Academy. So it's that foundation curriculum that was created, that covers everything from freestyling to rhyme writing, to music industry, recording, performing. I mean, it covers everything. We basically tried to imagine, like, okay, we're professional, we're artists here, we're in the community. How would we want to be taught all of the information that we've learned from this lifestyle and career? So I'll stop.
Nice, nice. Yeah, definitely. I think it's beautiful for you to describe just how it kind of just started with a small group of folks, making it happen at a university, and then all of a sudden just having it build over the years. I think that really speaks a lot to just the culture as a whole, but then just the people behind that, right? Like driving that movement. So cool. Thank you so much for sharing with that. I'm gonna switch it over to Martha. Could you talk about your work around Hip Hop Education Center, the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and just hip hop education in general? Like I know you've been you've been working with hip hop education for decades at this point. So yeah, if you could just speak a little bit to each of those.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, good. I
Yeah,
took
thank
my
you.
pods out. I think, I don't know. It's a pleasure to be here with you and everyone on the panel. Um, okay, my goodness. Yes, my career is, I can't believe it. I'm almost 30 years into this uh, community, culture, industry. And, I started out at Yo MTV Raps as a college student interning there. And as soon as I entered the entertainment industry, there was always an opportunity to learn, whether it was at a music conference, Jack the Rapper, or whatever conference that was happening. There was always an opportunity to learn. So we've been uh, teaching each other for a long time. And we can trace it back to Africa Bambaataa and Kool Herc, but Africa Bambaataa specifically because he worked with teachers to develop different community campaigns during the 70s in the Bronx. And there's actually a great movie called Flying Cut Sleeves that shows a teacher documented that time period, and you can hear her say, yeah, these students wanted to organize. They were living with no resources, and yet they found the courage to create a space to develop their creativity and to be active in the community, to develop the community. And so we can trace it all the way from the beginning of hip hop culture, hip hop education. But it was that experience that I had in the entertainment industry that led me to teach. I always wanted to be a teacher, but as I got disillusioned with the entertainment industry, I began substitute teaching, and I decided that maybe I could get a degree in teaching. And I, always had one foot in the industry and then one foot in the community. And when I developed the H2O International Film Festival, Hip Hop Odyssey International Film Festival, I started to see something very unique that I had not witnessed before, because although I've been to different film festivals like Sundance and Tribeca, it was at my film festival that I noticed that filmmakers were creating these curriculums to go with their hip hop docs and hip hop movies. And I was like, as a filmmaker, media maker, I was curious and I wanted to know who else was doing it. And I was bringing it into my classroom. And so the second year of the festival, I decided to create a hip hop education summit. And I put out a call to see who else was using hip hop in the classroom. And, it wasn't new. People were talking about using hip hop in different panel discussions, but it was my summit that really brought people together to seriously think about, how can we professionalize this field? How can we scale it up? How can we make this popular across the country, across the world? Because at that point, hip hop was already popular around the world.
Right. Sorry,
So
around what year was this?
this was in 2003.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. But, I've been in the industry since 1992. And so there's been a lot of education and throughout that time as well. But it was in 2003 when I created the summit. And that was the point that I had this aha moment where I said, this is a field. This is actually a new field, and we are the new educators. And so that's when I talked about it at Hip Hop Congress, and really started to recruit people and became a researcher at that, where I started to document everything about hip hop education. And in 2008, I went back to school at 40 years old, almost 40 years old, to get my master's. And I said, look, I have all this documentation. Why can't we show impact? I want to learn how to show, our impact in the community. And I realized there weren't any centers dedicated to researching and assessing hip hop. So I created one. Just like I created a hip hop film festival. We didn't have one here. Now we do. And so with the Hip Hop Education Center at NYU, I teamed up with Dr. Pedro Noguera, who is a education reformer and just an amazing trailblazing scholar who really is raising the bar in education. And he taught me how to really conduct a census, because I really didn't know about, research in that way. And I got my second master's in archiving, because I knew that the evidence of learning also needed to be included. And so all of these things led to the creation of the Hip Hop Education Center. And over 10 years, we conducted several research projects nationally. We compared cities. We have information on funding sources, on demographics and who we reach, who's teaching it. And one of the most interesting parts of, or highlights of the reports, is that out of 100, 74% of the programs taught the fifth element of hip hop, meaning knowledge of self and community. There were, 16% that didn't. And so I started to really look at who's not teaching the fifth element of hip hop with education, because, that's the history of this culture. And it was these organizations, these companies, dance companies mostly, who were just trying to teach the dance without the, giving props to the pioneers. And so anyway, that led to this point where we really had to develop standards and really come together as a community to create a think tank that would help us professionalize the field. And now the museum is housing the Hip Hop Education Center, and which I'm really proud of, because this is the first national museum that is going to preserve the legacy of hip hop culture, not just one element, because we have another museum, the Museum of Graffiti in Miami that just opened. We're preserving all of the elements. So I'm really proud to say that Hip Hop Education Center is now part of that museum. That was enough.
Thank you so much. No, but it's really important, I think, to contextualize where a lot of this is coming from and where it's stemming from. So I definitely didn't want to forget about mentioning, I have the Hip Hop Education Guidebook, Volume 1 right here, which is by Martha Diaz, that you can definitely check out. Look it up. Just anything Martha Diaz hip hop education that you look up. There's rich things that you constantly come across. So thank you, just generally for all the work that you've put into this, and for really, as you said, like just helping to kind of evolve the entire field and pushing it forward. So thank you.
And then can I just say something really quick about that guidebook? That guidebook was self-published by our organization in 2007. And that was like a mixtape of lessons from different educators from around the country. And I think the world. We had some international folks include their lesson plans. And that is like the intro to hip hop education for many people. So it's a good guide. Thank you.
Definitely. Cool. All right. Now moving over to Tyler. If you could please talk about the evolution of your program at Lindsay High School, from its after-school beginnings all the way to the development of the record label that you have going on, and also what role have your students played in shaping the program over the years?
Yeah, hey, glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a long story to how I got here, but to try and make it a little short, basically, I was always a little bit disillusioned with education growing up. I'm born and raised by Visalia, California. It's the Central Valley here. And basically, I always tell people my real education would be when I got home and got on my computer and started, teaching myself how to code and program with computers, how to make music, how to play guitar. And so in saying that, basically I started out actually as a technology consultant for a school district outside of Visalia. It's kind of a cow town called Lindsay. And we kind of designed and implemented this one-to-one laptop program. So every student would have a laptop, because many of our kids, can't afford computers, can't afford musical instruments. And then we actually even designed a whole citywide Wi-Fi network, because there was no telecommunications industries that would pay the infrastructure cost to come in and give us, the internet that our kids sorely needed. So I started out doing that, and I had always growing up kind of, laughed about would I ever become a teacher, because there were some really great teachers I had growing up, but for the most part, it was mostly boring. And I was, I just learned how to be really good at memorizing tests and, doing well with grades, but I wasn't really learning all that much until I got home and would start getting on the internet and just watching videos and learning things. And so I really got inspired to get an education actually once it's a long story, but I was a wildland firefighter for 7 years, and I ended up tearing my ACL and was kind of laid up in bed for a while, and started seeing these videos by Salman Khan, the Khan Academy, anyone that knows the Khan Academy, and then Sir Ken Robinson talking about how schools kill creativity. It's like what they do best. And I just got so inspired. I was sitting there laid up in bed, a wildland firefighter, and I was like, you know what? I think education is ripe for a big revolution to start. And so I was like, I literally just signed up that day. I signed up to get a master's degree in instructional design and technology, so I could just have something to prove that I knew what I knew, because I knew that I understood computer science and all this stuff, but it was kind of my way of proving that. And I never planned on becoming a teacher. I would have laughed at you if you ever said I would become a teacher. But in being there at the schools, working on developing this infrastructure for a technology system that was up to snuff, I had kids just coming up to me, and they knew I kind of knew a little bit about music. a little bit about computer science, and they wanted me to show them how to make video games and how to make hip hop music in particular, or just, music. They wanted to learn how to make it with their computers that I was designing for them, right? And so I said, okay, so I can teach you guys a little bit about that. And some of it I didn't know everything about. So I would like go home at night, like teach myself how to do it at night. And then the next day I'd go back and after school, just start showing them how to make video games with computer code, how to make music with a computer. And all of a sudden I had this whole little like after school underground following of kids that would show up. And I decided to kind of help design and build a recording studio, which was supposed to be for the video production program. So I introduced to them how to, we had like the first, I think, drone video production program in California. It was like 8 years ago. And so I just was doing all this crazy stuff with technology and the way it relates to creativity. And all of a sudden I realized in working with these kids, I was like, this is so much better than working with adults, because these kids are passionate. They want to learn this stuff, and they were so excited that they were, giving up their after school time to be there with me and learn it. And I just was like, you know what, I need to go in this full force. And so I started writing these classes at night on how to, you know, how to learn music production on a computer from scratch, and how to I mix in, because all our music that we make, we don't do any sampling. It's all like composition, so we make all our music from scratch. And so I would teach them the basics of music theory, and hip hop's always been one of my favorite styles of music, just because I'm a blues guitarist is like my main kind of jam, and I always like improvising. That's like the main way I play guitar. I don't write my songs down. I just kind of always make it up as I go along. And that led me to hip hop. And I'll never forget when I first, heard, I didn't grow up with hip hop. It was something I discovered late in high school. And I'll never forget, my hair stood on its end when I first heard some of the powerful hip hop tracks. And I was like, this is powerful music. It's anyways. And so the great part about it is it's probably one of the best ways to start producing music on a computer, because it's very simple and beautiful in its simplicity. And so anyways, so I just started writing these classes. I had this whole proposal to build a recording studio in the high school, and I literally like I had like 8 classes written out for these 2 pathways for both game design and electronic music production. And I basically just proposed it to my superiors and said, I'll be the one to teach it. I found out there's like through the CTE credential program in California, you can earn a credential with work experience, which thankfully I kind of had because I had served with the district in years prior. And so we just proposed the program, and along with the kids, of course, to help back me up and say that they wanted this. And every year we have by far the most signups for all the different pathways that we teach. And so yeah, so and hip hop's definitely one of the first things I teach a lot of my learners. But what's really cool is our program. I teach kids whatever they want to learn. Like I have kids, we're from a traditionally Hispanic area, and so I have a lot of kids that I help teach mariachi style traditional music to, classical film composition. Like I have people, doing piano film scores for music. We have every style of music you could ever be into is what I'm into. Heavy metal, whatever. I like it all. And so it's pretty cool in that I allow my kids to have that creative freedom to say, hey, this is the style of music I want to make. And if I don't know how to make it perfectly, I teach myself how to do it and then bring it back to the kids. And in doing that, the entire program, to be honest, was shaped by the kids. It was what they wanted. It was what they were asking for, but no one was giving it to them. And it made me think of myself in high school, all these things I would have loved to have learned, but I was the guy in the back of the class sleeping because it was boring to me. And so trying to just kind of change that and give the power back. And I always tell the students, like, guys, don't ever forget, we're here to serve you. This is your school. We're being paid by your parents to serve you. And so you guys need to ask for what you want. And so that's been really fun to help kind of empower learners here. And here in Lindsay, we kind of have this very unique grading program that's kind of like a competency-based grading program. And so we actually have a lot of visitors from around the world, around the United States, that come into our little cow town. And I'm always just blown away by how many people just say that, oh, we would love to have a program like this at our school, and we don't. And it's always it's been flattering in one way, but mostly it just makes me sad that this isn't something that's out there in every high school in America. I mean, we should all have a recording studio. and a record label. And the record label, again, that kind of evolved out of learners saying, hey, I want to get my stuff on Spotify, on, Pandora. And I was like, okay, well, I'll look into it. And so I just started researching how to do that, because we were doing SoundCloud, which, anyone, Post Malone, that's how we got to start, was on SoundCloud. But I started researching, hey, how can we get our stuff on Spotify, so that our kids could really, have a platform to publish their music to the world. And so that's kind of what led to the record label. And it's, when I say record label, that's a loose term. I mean, those definitions are kind of varied, but basically when the publishing platform that we utilize, when we hit the publish button, it goes out to everyone. Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, every streaming music service that exists. I think it's like 100 different services it's pushed out to, which is really cool. And that's been always a real help for me and our programs, is that I'm such a technology computer nerd that I can kind of figure some of these random things out on how to, to get their music out there. And it's been really awesome. But just the last couple of years, I've just felt convicted that I needed to start doing whatever I can to start spreading this program, what we're doing here in little old Lindsay, to the whole nation. And so I've actually got a bunch of students that I'm I'm always trying to pump up to become teachers now, because that's the biggest trend that I hear from administrators from around the country. Like, well, we just don't have anyone to teach this stuff. And so I'm trying to kind of work with a lot of my learners on training them to become teachers. I'm willing to give away all our curriculum, be an advisor for a new program that's starting at a school. So anyone out there that is curious on starting a program like the one that we're teaching here in Lindsay, I'm willing to dedicate myself fully to help you guys do that. There have been times I've thought about quitting this job and pursuing that full time as a nonprofit, but I love my students so much, and I think and that's the sad truth, is if I left, the program might die, and that's the sad reality, is that there aren't enough professionals in computer science and music production that decide to give back and become instructors and teachers. And so I may not make that much money, but I make it all up in the vibe that's at school and the kids just that want to be there. And my biggest problem is, at the end of the day, trying to tell people, hey guys, I got to get back home to my family, my kids. So you guys got to leave the studio. But and this, you guys can see here, this is my little master closet recording studio that I built just to kind of help inspire my students, that they can make a creative professional space in any environment. We've got a killer studio at the actual high school, but due to COVID, it's kind of been closed down. And I've actually got an office with a great studio in it too, but my newborn and my 3-year-old are too close. So my wife actually suggested that I take the master closet and do some changes. And so it's been really fun just showing the kids how they can, they can do anything they want. They really can. It's just, it's a matter of us giving them the tools, the platform, and the courage to pursue those things. And so I'm just all about however we can use technology to allow people to be creative and to use their minds in that sort of way, either whether it's building an app or a game from scratch and publishing it, or making a hip hop song from scratch and publishing it. I'm all about that. So I'm really glad to be here, and any way I can help y'all, I'm here for you.
Very cool. Very cool. It's really exciting to hear the story and just the evolution. Same thing, the evolution of the program and how it's grown so much. And I think the one of the main common themes that's popping up to me from all three of you is just the concept of innovation, right? And just really all three of you kind of have mentioned that you kind of took these paths that these paths that have been less traveled or never been traveled ever before, and you just kind of building through it along the way. So that's really exciting. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. We have a bunch of teachers here that maybe are interested in hip hop education. And I wanted, just kind of for these teachers, and this is for all of you, so feel free to take turns weighing in. But what steps should a music teacher with little to no background in hip hop take in order to ensure that they can provide a meaningful experience for their students in the classroom? So little to no background in hip hop, right? But they're willing to kind of provide this experience or this type of education for their students, right? What are where do they go? What steps should they take first?
I can crack this nut. So Martha and myself and several other people are actually working on the first hip hop education initiative that has been state funded. It's called the Hip Hop Education and Equity Initiative. And it is a combination of the work of Hip Hop Congress, Hip Hop Communiversity, which is Martha's resource for teachers and teaching artists, um, and the California Department of Education. So one of the reasons why we realize that this is a risk, just like, you know, whenever you're working with a culture and cultural expression, we saw it happen with hip hop in the entertainment industry, where it's like it will get appropriated and it'll be the culture itself will be left behind for the allure of the creativity. And so this conversation has been happening for a long time, on how we can create a system so that um, so that authentic curriculum can be accessible, but then also we're supporting the members of the culture who are creating these are living, are part of the culture, right? It's the thing that we do want to avoid is having such a rich culture kind of just being taught at a surface level. So I'll let Martha, I'm going to pass it on to Martha so she can talk more about the Hip Hop Communiversity, which is it was kind of fast tracked with COVID, but it's being created as a resource for teachers who maybe are like, I don't want to, I don't want to take responsibility for this, but here's a resource of people who are qualified to speak on all of these different subjects. So
Well, thank you, Rahman. Well, first, I would say do your research, right? Like, there's plenty of books, like my guidebook, and other resources that allow you to understand the culture and what it is. I believe Christopher Emdin has a book called For White Teachers Who Teach in Urban Schools. I know Jamila Liscott has a book, Bettina Love has a book. There's plenty of books out there that teachers can use to just get introduced to the culture and why we do it. It's important to know that we use hip hop education for liberation. We want our young people to know that they can do anything, and that hip hop is just being used as a hook, but also as a way to provide some self-esteem and some confidence. And so they know that this is a legacy that they're part of, and that they're going to continue the legacy with their work. So it's important that teachers know that this is a rich history, that this isn't something that just happened yesterday. I've been doing this work professionally with hip hop education for, like I said, since 2003. And before that, I was just practicing all the time, doing the work. So hip hop is about to turn 50 years old in 2 more years. So there's plenty of history that they need to learn about. Secondly, like Rahman said, there's many teaching artists, including Tyler, who are here to help, tap into them. Like Lindsay High School, there's the High School for Recording Arts in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. It's the first hip hop high school in the country. They've been around for over 20 years. They also have a record label. They also have their students teaching. This is a model that is around the country. The View Park High School in Los Angeles, Brooklyn Community and Media High School in Brooklyn, and on and on. I can give you resources. You can talk to these school administrators, to the teachers, and you can get help. We, through this Hip Hop Education and Equity Initiative, are going to have professional development available. So if you need us to have a full day of PD for your teachers, we would be happy to curate something for you. We could also do something for your students, an assembly, for your students. We are planning a Summer Teacher Institute this summer, which we're really excited about. And you'll see Tyler doing his thing because he's going to present. And then you'll meet some of our pioneers, because some of our pioneers are really engaged in the education. For example, Arabian Prince, who is a founding member of NWA. He's a technologist. He's inventing a computer for DJs. He's amazing. He does esports. Anyway, we want to introduce you to our community so that it is a symbiotic relationship. You know, everybody, we don't want teachers to come with Kango hats and, you know, gazelles and think that they're down. No, you don't have to change who you are to integrate hip hop in the classroom. You just have to give it the respect that it deserves and put some time into research. And we are just, you'll get to know us. We're very loving, very helpful community. And together, and that's the point, together we can help you build your programs. I don't want to go on and on. I mean, because I can go on.
No, this is great. I think you know, it definitely helps just because there's, and I've talked to many teachers that you know are embracing hip hop and hip hop education, but just maybe feel a bit overwhelmed at times. You know, with sometimes it is all of the resources that they're accessing that they just don't necessarily know how to engage with all of it at the same time, or whether to take steps, and you know, just kind of how to make it make sense for them. But I think you know, you mentioning the different paths and resources that are available, I think is definitely key for that development, especially in the beginning. And yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, definitely drop any links that you think are relevant to the discussion. I'm sure a lot of the teachers here will appreciate that.
Yes, and can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
So I just dropped my website, Hip Hop CU. We're going to have, it's going to be like a marketplace. So you're going to see all the amazing educators, the top seasoned educators will be on this platform so that you can hire them, so you can see free content. They're going to be offering courses. My goal is that, especially the hip hop scholars, that they open up their classrooms so high school students could enroll, so that there could be a pathway to like dual enrollment or dual enrollment between college and high school. And so that website is still in development, but if you sign up, you will get alerts when it's open so that you can see all these amazing resources available to you.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I'm gonna switch it over to some of the attendees here that have questions for all of you. So same thing, just feel free to chime in right here. So the first one here is from Susan. She's saying, I'm an elementary school music teacher. I do a lot of hip hop music in my curriculum and focus on decolonizing my music program in general. Thinking beyond repertoire alone, what cultural norms of hip hop can I apply to my music classes?
This is a really good question, Susan. And I was thinking about it for a while before coming up with this answer. So one cultural norm within hip hop is the concept of a cipher. A cipher is basically a sharing circle where everybody gets a turn to offer something into the space and basically be seen and heard by everyone else in the cipher. And when they're done, then the next person goes. So that can take many different forms. It can just be a conversation, but within hip hop, it takes on different forms, right? So you can have a freestyle rap cipher where one of the skill sets that I teach is freestyling, and a lot of people think, oh, you can't teach it. It is possible to teach. We can I can talk about that a little later if we have time, but a freestyle circle, a rap cipher. You can have a dance cipher, right? There's even like a music cipher, DJ ciphers if you have the equipment, but like instrumental cipher, or just a sharing cipher, right? You just put on music and do whatever. But the cultural norm is be yourself. you know, like kind of trying to break through that sort of like, oh, am I going to be judged? Like, you know, kind of fear that people have, and just really developing a culture of acceptance, and that whatever you bring to the table is valued and part of the collective. So that's one
And
idea that popped in my
and
head.
one thing to go off what Ramon's saying, Susan, that I'm trying to kind of push here at Lindsay is trying to connect the whole school and figure out who is good at what. And so what I love about hip hop is you can integrate so many different styles of music, so many different skills. And so like what I'm trying to do here at the high school is like we have a classical nylon guitar program that teaches a lot of flamenco style, but also a lot of very classical style music that is not, you don't think of hip hop when you hear that. But you go and hear of like my favorite Nas song is The Message, and it's got this classical guitar piece, I think from a Sting album that they sampled and built into the song. And it's just beautiful. And it's amazing to see so many different. My favorite part about hip hop is that you can smash all these different genres and beautiful music and lyrics together and make something that's unique. And that's what I always thought was so special about hip hop when I first kind of discovered it, was like, wow, they can bring together so many different things into one piece of music that is something new and creative. And so I'm trying to connect with other parts of my school. And actually I'm working with my students on kind of identifying different talent. So who are the best freestyle rappers here at school? Who are the best classical guitar players? Who are, who's best, the best dancers? And let's try and build a little bit of a production around that, and try and publish an album and do something that's not about any one person by themselves, but is about the whole school, and kind of creating something for everyone to contribute a little piece to. And that's kind of what Rahman was talking about with the cipher, is it's kind of like taking turns, and not just having it be all about one person or one entity, but about recognizing the various talent that you have in the school. And so like I have my graphic art teacher, his learners are working on helping to produce our album covers for the music albums that we try and publish. And I don't know, that's just one way I see of kind of going off of what Rahman talked about, is just trying to bring the school together and make it about something bigger than just one person, which is cool.
Yes, I love that, Tyler. I think it's so important that um, other teachers are involved in especially it's such an important subject as music. So in hip hop, Dr. Daniel Banks has a theory about hip hop sensibilities, hip hop multiple intelligences. So, we really, the hip hop pedagogy is practiced by making sure that we teach with the student in mind first. So we know that not every student is going to be an MC or wants to be a beat maker. So we figure out what it is that they're good at. And so hip hop, because we have a visual element to it, and we have the DJ element to it, and the MC element, and the beatboxing element, and the entrepreneurial, and so on and so on. We make sure that that's where we begin, to make sure that young people feel included, and that we pull out the talent, in the work and in them, from them. The other thing is that, going back to what Rahman was saying about the cipher, it's important that one mic is used. You pass the mic and you use one mic, only one person can speak. And so that's something that you can use in the classroom as classroom management. And and it's also something that we use in the cipher. Sampling, yes. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm into punk, I'm into rock, I'm into hip hop, and that's what hip hop is. It's a fusion of all of these sounds and music. And so it's important that we talk about that, and really look at the samples of the songs. And lastly, decolonizing. um, if you trace the history of hip hop, and we trace the music element to the blues and jazz and rock, and how it's an evolution of music, you can really and the griots, you know, back in Africa, we can really use hip hop to discuss how we can decolonize the mind, the community, the, you know, education. And so that I'll end it there.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Very cool. I'm going to move on to another question. I know we're getting up against the hour here, but if y'all mind going over just a couple minutes, just take maybe another question or two. This next one here is from Nicole, and says, any advice for educators using hip hop with early grades, like kindergarten, first, and second?
Oh yeah. Young kids, like, they do amazing things when it comes to exposing them to different hip hop elements such as beatboxing, right? That's something that, like, I mean, kids do that normally, just make music with their mouth. But I teach all ages. I actually work at a preschool. It's a family business. Um, and Yeah, I mean, kids just gravitate to music, you know, regardless. And so, you know, the movement, the dancing, beatboxing. I do exercises with kids where they're counting to rhythm, and then we, one, two, three, four, and then we transfer that to saying syllables in the same rhythm, and then, once they get that, then stepping up the from a quarter note to an eighth note. What's a triplet sound like? Bringing these, you know uh, different musical concepts, maybe not defining them at that young age, but giving them the experience of, like, whoa, that sounds different and cool, and I can do this. And then playing different games with language of, like, okay, let's have a conversation, ask me a question, can you ask me a question in rhythm? You'd be very surprised how quickly they pick it up, especially at those young ages, because they haven't developed those judgment barriers yet, right? Where it's like, oh, I don't want to mess up. Like, they'll just jump right into it if you can scaffold it the right way. And I've had rooms of first, second, and third graders, like, freestyling, just like going off the top, it's amazing. I mean, the what you can get out of from that energy, from their energy, through them, just by, I think Tyler was saying, just by providing them just with the little guideline points, it comes out of them naturally. So yeah, there's a lot that young people will gravitate towards. And to that point, I think there's a stigma about hip hop through what people know about it from the industry, that it's not appropriate for young people or for little kids, and that's absolutely a, a misrepresentation or a false idea, defined by what we know from the entertainment industry, which is only one part of hip hop culture. We have to also remember, as educators, that hip hop is a culture before it is a form of entertainment, and it comes from within the individual. So a lot of the work is around, how do you tell your own story, or how do you present yourself on your own terms, not on the world's terms or anybody else's terms, and getting comfortable in being in that space within yourself. So yeah.
Nice. Cool. We just have a couple more questions here. This one's from Sol. She says, what would you recommend to teachers who want to provide this type of music program at the high school level? This, for, I guess, more for Tyler here. Like, what are some of the basics that a teacher should have in order to build up their program initially?
So, there's a lot of ways to approach this. It kind of depends a little bit about, what's your budget, but the truth is you can do it for free. I mean, there are tons of online websites. I know the big trend in education has been Chromebooks, which I consider to be the bane of existence, because you can only go to websites with them. But there are a lot of website tools that do allow you to start producing hip hop music. If you're talking about, how to start producing hip hop style music, there's Soundtrap is by Spotify, and it actually does cost money, but that's a really good intro program. But there are a lot of free ones: Soundation.com, audiotool.com, and then just looking up tutorials. And maybe what I could do is try and kind of compile you know, a list of some different tools you could kind of try out for the learners. Ableton Live is the software that I love more than any of the other ones, but you know, it costs some money. I was able to actually get it donated because I bugged them for like a year straight with emails every week about trying to lower their prices, and they ended up donating some things to us. But that's really, I would say Soundation.com. Soundtrap is probably the best one, but it costs a little bit of money for a subscription. If you're talking more about how to start just producing the music, but like Rahman and Martha said, you know, it's not also just about making the beats. It's there's a lot of things involved, and so yeah, I would say if any of you guys, I'm going to put my email, you know, in the chat. And if any of you guys have questions about those, especially those technicalities, like what kind of software should we use? What kind of devices do we need? If you know a budget, I can tell you exactly what priority of equipment to get. It's nice to have a mic, but I mean, you can create a professional sounding recording studio for about $250 with a really nice microphone and a little audio interface box to connect to a laptop, where you could have someone, you know, freestyle rapping or singing and recording that on top of someone's music or beat that they've made with one of those aforementioned tools that I talked about that are free online. So it really just depends on those details. We put my email in the chat.
You know,
Awesome. Thank you.
I can't find the AME website that also has a list of industry partners, and Spotify is one of them. If you email Chad at Spotify, he's willing to work with schools in California and provide you with a free
I just met with him 2 days ago, guys, and that's I was trying to remember his name. Martha, thank you. Yeah, Chad's a great guy, and that Soundtrap by Spotify, I would start there, because what's really cool with Soundtrap is they provide like a kind of a full curriculum too on how to make the music on their platform. It does cost a little bit of money, but I don't think it's that much, and it sounds like, yeah, he's willing to do some free demos and maybe some free subscriptions to start out. So that is where I would start with Soundtrap.
Cool. Yeah, reach out to Chad for sure. Very, very cool. Thank you so much. We're a few minutes over the hour already, so thank you to all of you for sticking around. If y'all have any parting words, feel free to share.
Go ahead, Rahman.
Okay, yeah, I just shared a couple emails in the chat there. If you're interested in, let's say, forming like an organization around a student collective that you have, you can email Hip Hop Congress Inc. At Gmail, and we can send you our chapter manual handbook that basically has all the information you would need on how to organize at your school, within your community, and also be connected to a larger network of organizations. And then the second email that I shared was rapforceacademy at Gmail. That's my personal teaching company. So if you're interested in specific techniques or lesson plans for your class, I'm actually creating one for Little Kids Rock right now. So you can definitely in the next month or so, you'll see some of that material through them. But I have much more as well.
And yeah, thanks all. I've got my email in there, and anytime any of you want to contact me, but especially about some of those technical details about how to kind of do it as a teacher, let me know. I'm willing to help out anyone, because I'm pretty excited that you guys are all just here, and this is starting to spread, because it should be everywhere. It really should. And definitely, I probably should ask this, but Tony and Martha, there's probably it looks like we're recording this, and I think we can make this maybe available to everyone at some point, possibly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be made available to everyone. So we'll follow up with that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And I added some links to the Universal Hip Hop Museum. We have a multimedia timeline. We have been building one for the 60s and 70s, another one for the 80s, and we're going to continue to add different eras. And they have other tools for you in that website. I also put in my email. We will have this Summer Teacher Institute. So if you email me, I'll make sure that you are alerted and are given enough time so that you can come and join us. And I want to give a big shout out to Emil Johnson, who I know said something about, I had a question around global decolonization. This brother is from South Africa. He's part of an amazing group, pioneering group in South Africa called Black Noise. And so I'm so happy that he is in here with us. But yes, hip hop education is everywhere. And we are, between the work that Hip Hop Congress does and what we're doing with Hip Hop CU and others, because there are so many people who have different niche hip hop education ciphers going on. Like, you can join Tuesdays, the chat cipher with Christopher Emden and Tim Jones, hip hop ed chats. And you can go to Rock the School Bells up in Sacramento and have their, conference. So yes, we are working on it, Emil, and we're going to make it happen. But, change is slow. So be patient. Yes, love. Peace.
I didn't even realize it was that Emil. I was like, well, man, we got some real forward thinkers in the crowd. I know who you are now. But yeah, no, I and like I said in the private message, this, just by even being on this conversation, like, you are a part of that evolving process. Like, this is how the change in the future happens. It starts small, it spreads, person to person. And so it's just great to be in a space of like-minded people. And, we're here to support you, support each other, and, create the future that our children deserve. So, thanks for everybody for just even being here and being interested in this. And this is the work. We're figuring it out as we go.
Definitely. Let's keep it going. So thank you all so much for our panelists. Let's give a virtual round of applause right here for all of you for being here and just sharing all of your knowledge with everybody. And thank you once again to all of the attendees for being here. Any questions, feel free to reach out to these fine folks. And we'll see you for the next one. Okay. Have a good evening.